Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. So Jimmy Joe Flint wins the rematch and makes it 2-0 against Campbell Hatton. He moves to 15 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats. In actual fact, his last 2 victories the only 2 victories in his last 4 have been against Campbell Hatton. He repeated his 10-round unanimous decision over Hatton, probably by winning the fight in the second half, I thought, because this was a fight in which both men had injuries, nothing serious, but Jimmy Joe finished with a badly swollen left eye. It was almost shut, and had this been a 12-rounder, not a 10-rounder, it could have been shut tight. Campbell finished with a nick over his left eye that was sort of dribbling blood. Nothing major, but for some reason they couldn't quite stem the flow of blood. But look, these 2 guys gave another fantastic area level fight, just like the first one. I think the right guy won. I think after 5 rounds, I actually had Campbell winning. I think it was 3-2 up. Did I have it? Because although the first round, Jimmy Flint, I think he shook Campbell. He didn't wobble him, but he shook him, got his attention, and made Campbell think in the first round, and clearly won that first round. Second round, could have gone either way, I suppose. I thought Campbell won it. Third, fourth, and fifth, very competitive, but I felt Campbell Hatton was getting on top. He was being very physical, mauling Flint, into the ropes. I think Campbell's 22, Flint's about 27. So Flint is approaching his prime, you would think. Hatton, 23, hasn't quite got his man strength, but nevertheless, he was showing some good physicality and throwing lots and lots of punches, with real intent. Look, you can say what you like about Campbell Hatton, and I know that the name and the fact that who his father is gets him these appearances. But the kid is a willing fighter. Okay, he's not high level. He's an area level guy. Whether he'll get any better or not, I don't know. I think if he lives the life and tries to move forward, maybe drops down to sort of do a few, learn the trade a bit more. By the time he's 27, 28, he might be a English level, British level fighter. Not everyone can be world class. But he showed a lot of bottle, and so did James Flint. And this was a great little. It was actually the chief's support on the fight between Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis. And in terms of action, it kind of lived up to it. It was a good 10-round scrap that would have, maybe headlined the York Hall or one of the leisure centres, or like Doncaster Dome or somewhere else, where they occasionally hold boxing. But despite the fact that after 5 rounds, I think I had Campbell 3-2 up because of the physicalness, he was still getting caught. And in the second round, the flaws in Campbell Hatton's sort of fistic makeup began to show. He didn't show a lot of imagination when Jimmy started to fire back. And you could see watching the fight that Jimmy Flint had kind of a higher ring IQ. He was able to, throw the odd check hook, read Campbell's rhythm, fire punches that were between Campbell's punches and catch him. And I've always thought that Campbell Hatton, although he hasn't got a particularly big punch, offensively he's quite a good fighter. The problem for Campbell is it's his defence. He's just not very good defensively. Now, having said that, of course, as I mentioned earlier, Jimmy Flint did end up with, in fact, after 3 rounds, he had blood coming out of his ear. And there was an injury then. You were thinking, what's going on here? But in the second half of the fight, he kind of took over. Certainly after 6 rounds, he took over. And even though Campbell was landing punches and was being very industrious, moving forward, trying to be physical with Jimmy, Jimmy's eye was swelling up, but he was still landing, I don't know, the cleaner, tidier, I'm almost tempted to say the more intelligent punches. He was able to see what Hatton was going to do and then either beat him to the punch or counter him well. I just got the feeling, I suppose they call it ring generalship. I mean, that strange, ambiguous phrase that everyone uses, but no one can ever quite define it. I think in those terms, Jimmy Joe Flint was definitely ahead. And I definitely gave him the majority of the second half of the fight. I made this No, it was in 96, 94. And yeah, you can't make a case for Hatton winning this fight. I mean, a draw, maybe pushing it, but I thought James Flint won this fight. I really did. I don't know if he's still the area champ, because I know the weird thing is he defended his Central Area title, which he'd made I think it was his second or third defence. He defended that against Campbell first time round, and then I don't know whether he lost it. He fought a guy called Kyle Boyd in his last fight and lost a split decision, and that was over 10. So he's been 10 rounds a lot, Jimmy Flint has. Kyle Boyd was a 6-1 fighter and won a split decision. And then he comes back, Flint does, and beats Campbell again. So his 4 fights ago, he had a 10-round draw, and that was in defence of the Central Area title with Adam Serkar. Another guy who's I think only got 1 defeat on his record. So he is area level, James Flint. There's no doubt about it. But, he's a good, tough little pro. I like him a lot. I like watching him. And this was a very good fight, a very competitive fight. I definitely think the right man won. James he's got 15 wins now, but only three KOs. He's been beaten twice on points, 2 draws in the mix. Campbell, this is his 2nd defeat in a row because he hadn't had a fight between the first Flint fight and the second one. Where does he go from here? I'd say back to the drawing board, stick him on small all cards, let him learn the trade. This was his first fight with, I think, Ben Davison he's with now. He left his uncle, Matthew Hatton. If he wants to carry on fighting, that's fine, let him carry on fighting. I don't have a big problem with Campbell Hatton just because he's got the name and he's living off the name. If you get in there and you fight, especially if you're only 23, that's fine by me. You've proved yourself. You've proved that you got the balls to get in there. But what's next for James Flint? Maybe an English title fight. I don't know. But he's not that old, James Flint. He's only 27. So he's got time on his hands. Could he get to English level? Maybe. Could Campbell get to win the area title? Maybe move up to English level? Maybe. Does Campbell Hatton belong on big cards? No. Does Jimmy Flint belong on big cards? No, not really. But they are good. Those are 2 fighters that are good, honest pros and will always provide some good support on the undercards of major events. So what did you think of this fight? Do you think the right man won? What do you think of Campbell Hatton? Do you think he's got a future? Where do you think he goes from here? What about Jimmy Flint? You think who would you put him in with next? Bearing in mind these are super lightweights, 140 pounders. Who would you put him in with next? Leave your comments below. And of course, as always, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, please hit the like button. It costs you nothing and it helps the channel out a great deal, and we're much appreciative of that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We got the big one to come next. Jack Catterall against Regis Prograis. Should be a good one. I'll do a review. I'll get you later. Bye for now.